The emergency council chamber erupted into what could only be described as organized panic. Commander Vrel stood at the center podium, his three eyes blinking in sequence while his tentacles gripped the edge of the console hard enough to leave marks. "Let me understand this correctly," High Chancellor Mira said, her voice dripping with the kind of sarcasm usually reserved for subordinates who had just crashed a ship into a space station. "You want to send one human?" Vrel's translator chip buzzed with nervous energy. "Not want, Chancellor." The human specifically requested to go alone. A ripple of disbelief washed through the assembled delegates. The Calthorians shifted their crystalline forms, creating a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. The Brevian ambassador, a hulking mass of muscle and bad attitude, slammed 4 fists on the table simultaneously. "One human," he bellowed, "against 17,000 Scarlix shock troops, fortified positions, and orbital support. This is madness." "Actually," Vrel said quietly, pulling up a holographic display, the human was quite specific about the numbers. He said, and I quote, "Good. Finally something to do on a Tuesday." Dead silence. "Tuesday," whispered Ambassador Lorne, her scales rippling with confusion. What does their weekly calendar designation have to do with military strategy? Vrel shrugged, a gesture he had learned from spending too much time with humans. "I stopped asking questions like that 3 months ago. My therapist says it is healthier this way." The hologram flickered, showing the fortress planet Dakkar 9. 67 levels of underground bunkers, shield generators that could withstand a supernova, and enough firepower to level a small moon. The Scarlix had turned it into their regional headquarters, and they had been laughing at every attempt to dislodge them for 2 years. "We have lost 4 battle groups trying to crack that fortress," Chancellor Mira said, leaning forward. Her eyes narrowed. 12,000 of our finest warriors. And you want to send Marcus Blake, the maintenance technician from Outpost 7. "Former Special Operations," Vrel corrected, "though he does fix the coffee machines remarkably well. I do not care if he can fix the fabric of space-time itself," the Brevian ambassador roared. "He is one being. What possible difference could?" The door to the chamber slid open with a hiss that cut through the argument like a blade. Marcus Blake walked in, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. He was not impressive by most species standards. Average height for a human, maybe 6 feet tall, brown hair that looked like it had been cut with a knife and a prayer. He wore a standard combat suit that had seen better days, covered in what appeared to be handwritten notes and crude drawings. One said, "This side toward enemy." Another, "If found, please return in nearest bar." But his eyes, oh, those eyes held something that made every predator species in the room instinctively step back. "Sorry I'm late," Marcus said, his voice carrying a lazy drawl that somehow made it sound like he was doing everyone a favor by showing up. "Had to finish my lunch. Anyone want to fill me in, or should I just wing it?" Chancellor Mira opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "Mr. Blake, we were just discussing the impossibility of your proposed solo mission to Dakkar 9. "Impossibility?" Marcus smiled, and it was not a nice smile. It was the kind of smile that made grown Scarlix warriors check their life insurance policies. "Chancellor, with respect, you're thinking about this all wrong. Enlighten us," she said dryly. Marcus walked to the hologram, studying it with the casual interest of someone examining a lunch menu. "You all keep trying to fight them. Tactics, strategies, battle formations. That's your first mistake. What would you suggest?" Vrel asked carefully. "I'm not going there to fight them," Marcus said, tapping the hologram with one finger. The image zoomed in on the main fortress entrance. "I'm going there to make them regret every decision that led to this moment." "There's a difference." The Brevian ambassador laughed, a sound like grinding boulders. Bold words from someone who will be dead in 17 minutes. 17 minutes? Marcus looked genuinely offended. "Ambassador, I'm hurt. Give me at least 20. I want to enjoy myself." "This is insane," someone shouted from the back. "Probably," Marcus agreed cheerfully. "But here's the thing about humans that you folks never quite understood. We're not brave. We're not fearless. We just have a very different relationship with consequences than you do." He turned to face the council, and his expression shifted into something harder, something that made the monitors flicker. You asked why I requested to go alone. Here's your answer. I don't need reinforcements. What I need are witnesses. I need every species in this chamber to watch what happens when you back a human into a corner and tell him something can't be done. I need you to see what happens when we stop being polite. The silence was absolute. So, Marcus continued, his voice bright again. Anyone want to take bets on how long this takes? I'm thinking under 6 hours, but I might stop for coffee halfway through. Really depends on my mood. Vrel felt his tentacles twitch. He had seen that look before. On human faces, right before reality took a vacation. When do you leave? Chancellor Mira asked quietly. Marcus checked a device on his wrist. Ship leaves in 20 minutes. Should give me time to grab some extra ammunition and maybe a sandwich. Anyone know if the Scarlets have good coffee? Probably not. They never do. He walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Chancellor? Make sure you record everything. Trust me, you're going to want to show this to people who weren't there. They will never believe you otherwise. The door closed behind him. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then the Brevian ambassador whispered, "What have we done?" Vrel's translator chip caught something that might have been laughter or terror. Possibly both. "We gave a human permission," he said quietly. "May the stars have mercy on the Scarlets, because Marcus Blake certainly will not." The observation deck was packed tighter than a cargo hold during evacuation drills. Every council member, their aides, military advisors, and at least 40 species representatives who had heard rumors crowded around the massive view screens showing live feeds from Dakkar 9. Chancellor Mira stood at the front, her fingers drumming nervously on the railing. 6 hours had passed since Marcus Blake landed his shuttle on the fortress planet. The first 4 hours had been eerily quiet. Then the screaming started. Sensors are picking up massive energy fluctuations in Sector 7. Lieutenant Kess reported, her voice higher than usual. Wait, now Sector 12. Now Sector 3. How is he moving that fast? Maybe he has help, someone suggested weakly. Vrel pulled up the bioscan data. No, still reading only one human life sign. And approximately. He paused, recalculating 16,214 Scarlet signatures, down from 17,000. In 4 hours? The Brevian ambassador breathed. That is impossible. The main view screen flickered to life, showing internal fortress cameras. What they saw made several delegates reach for medication. The corridor was chaos given physical form. Blast marks scorched the walls in patterns that suggested someone had been using explosives like confetti. Scarlet's warriors, each one 7 feet of armored fury, were running. Not advancing, not retreating strategically. Actually running, looking over their shoulders with what could only be described as terror. Rewind that, Chancellor Mira demanded. Go back 30 seconds. The footage reversed. They watched a squad of 20 Scarlets soldiers moving through a junction in perfect formation. Professional. Disciplined. Then a figure dropped from an air vent above them. Marcus Blake landed in the center of their formation, and for 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then he smiled. What followed was not a fight. It was a demonstration of applied physics and creative problem-solving. Marcus moved like water with a grudge, his movements precise and absolutely brutal. He used their own weapons against them, turned their armor into disadvantages, and somehow, impossibly, seemed to be enjoying himself. Is he laughing? Ambassador Lorne asked, horrified. Yes, Vrel confirmed, adjusting the audio feed. Marcus's voice came through, slightly distorted but unmistakable. Come on, guys, you're making this too easy. At least try to shoot where I'm going to be, not where I was. Basic tactics. A Scarlet's commander appeared on another screen, barking orders into a communication device. His voice was frantic. All units, converge on level 42. Bring the heavy weapons. Bring everything. Find the human and end this. The screen split, showing multiple angles. Hundreds of Scarlet's troops poured into level 42, weapons charged, ready for war. The level was empty. Where did he go? Kess whispered. The answer came 5 seconds later when the entire level's power grid shut down. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in blood-red shadows. Then the explosion started. Not random. Calculated. Each blast took out critical support structures, weapon emplacements, and command nodes. The Scarlex formations dissolved into confusion as their communications went dark and their tactical displays failed. And through it all, moving between the chaos like a ghost with a very specific agenda, was Marcus Blake. He is not just fighting them. Chancellor Mira said slowly, realization dawning. He is systematically dismantling their entire command infrastructure. Affirmative, Vrel confirmed, pulling up tactical overlays. He has destroyed 6 command centers, 19 communication hubs, 42 weapon stockpiles, and their main power distribution network. He is not trying to kill them all. He is trying to break them. Another screen showed the fortress commander, a massive Scarlex general named Thrax, watching his defenses crumble. His mandibles clicked in what the translator interpreted as frustrated disbelief. Ow! Thrax roared at his officers. How is one being doing this? What is he? On another feed, Marcus had stopped to examine a Scarlex weapon, turning it over in his hands. Huh. Nice design. Terrible trigger discipline, though. You folks really need better training protocols. He tossed the weapon aside and pulled out what looked like a sandwich from his pack. He actually took a bite, chewing thoughtfully while alarm klaxons wailed around him. I told you I would stop for lunch, he said to nobody in particular. The observation deck was silent except for the sound from the feeds. 3 more hours passed. The Scarlex numbers kept dropping. Not all casualties. Most were surrendering, throwing down weapons and backing away with their hands, claws, and various appendages raised. Finally, Marcus Blake appeared in the Fortress Command Center. Thrax stood alone, his honor guard having fled or surrendered. The general was massive, easily 3 times Marcus's size, covered in battle armor that had survived orbital bombardment. You have destroyed everything, Thrax said, his voice carrying a strange mix of anger and respect. Why? We could have negotiated. Marcus finished his sandwich, crumpled the wrapper, and somehow managed to toss it into a waste receptacle 15 feet away without looking. Negotiation was last year, buddy. You laughed at the ambassadors. You killed thousands of good people, and you made one critical mistake. What mistake? You assumed human patience was infinite just because we tried talking first. Marcus cracked his knuckles. Spoiler alert. It is not. What happened next was almost too fast for the cameras to catch. When the dust settled, Thrax was on the ground, armor cracked, weapons scattered, and Marcus was standing over him with one boot on the general's chest. Now, Marcus said conversationally, you are going to order a full surrender. Then you're going to personally apologize to every species you attacked. And then, if you are very lucky, they might let you retire to a nice, quiet prison planet where you can think about your life choices. Thrax's translator crackled. And if I refuse? Marcus leaned down, and his voice dropped to something cold enough to freeze helium. Then I stopped being nice. The general looked into those human eyes and saw something that made him a warrior who had conquered 12 systems. Whimper. I surrender, Thrax whispered. The observation deck erupted into stunned applause mixed with nervous laughter. Chancellor Mira turned to Vrel, her expression somewhere between impressed and terrified. 6 hours and 14 minutes, she said. He actually did it in under 6 hours. With a lunch break, the Brevian ambassador added weakly. Vrel watched as Marcus helped the defeated general to his feet, surprisingly gentle now that the fighting was done. I told you all, humans are not brave. They are not fearless. They just have a different relationship with consequences. The communication channel opened. Marcus's face appeared, looking tired but satisfied. Mission accomplished, Chancellor. Dakkar 9 is secured. Sending surrender documents now. Also, their coffee is terrible. Just confirming my earlier suspicions. Mr. Blake, Chancellor Mira said carefully, that was remarkable. That was Tuesday. Marcus corrected. Wait until you see what I do when I'm actually motivated. Blake out. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Lorne spoke what everyone was thinking. Remind me never to upset the humans. Ever. Agreed, said every other species simultaneously. Vrel's tentacles sagged with relief. I'm taking a very long vacation after this. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere far from humans and their terrifying competence. Chancellor Mira smiled slightly. After today, I suspect many species will be doing the same. And the Scarlets? They will be telling stories about this for generations. Not stories of defeat, but stories of warning. Stories about the day they learned that when humans say something is impossible, they take it personally. Stories about Marcus Blake, the maintenance technician who needed witnesses, not reinforcements. And somewhere, on a transport heading back to Outpost 7, Marcus was already asleep, dreaming about his next coffee break, completely unaware that he had just become the most feared and respected human in 17 sectors. Which, if you asked him, would probably just make him shrug and say, "Cool, but did anyone fix the coffee machine yet?" If this story entertained or taught you something, please like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us grow and bring you more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next story.